Margaret was wandering around in New Jersey when she stumbled upon an old wall covered in strange markings. As she got closer, she realized that the markings were actually words written in an ancient language. The three words that caught her eye were Sorbaka, Torgamakor, and another word that she couldn't quite make out. Margaret had always been fascinated by the supernatural and the occult, so she was intrigued by the mysterious words on the wall. She couldn't resist the temptation and decided to read the words out loud. Suddenly, she felt a strange sensation in her body, as if something was trying to possess her, but she shrugged it off, thinking it was just her imagination playing tricks on her. Little did she know that she had just unleashed a powerful curse that would change her life forever. As the days went by, Margaret started to notice some strange changes in her body. Her once beautiful blonde hair started to turn black, and her skin became pale and ghostly. Her eyes turned a dark shade of red, and she began to emit a fiery breath that burned everything in its path. Margaret was terrified and didn't know what to do. She tried to seek help from doctors and specialists, but no one could explain her mysterious transformation. She felt like she was losing control of her body and her mind, as if something else was taking over her. Then one night, as the clock struck midnight, Margaret felt an intense pain in her head. Suddenly, her beautiful face twisted and contorted into something unrecognizable. She had been cursed. Margaret's body began to change, and she turned into a terrifying, ghostly creature that feasted on corpses from nearby graves. Her curse had fully taken over her, and there was no turning back. One day, a young boy saw Margaret in her ghostly form as she was devouring a corpse. Terrified, the boy ran to his father to tell him what he had seen. The father, a local resident of the area, decided to gather the other residents of the street to deal with the cursed girl. As they searched for Margaret, they discovered that her curse had spread to the walls of the old building. Where she had read the cursed words, the walls were now covered in strange symbols and markings, and the curse had taken over the entire building. The people were horrified, but they knew they had to put an end to Margaret's curse once and for all. Determined to rid themselves of the curse, the people of the area gathered together and went on a hunt for Margaret. They searched high and low, but she was nowhere to be found. Just when they thought they had lost her, Margaret appeared before them, now in full ghostly form. The people were horrified and attacked her, but their efforts were in vain. Margaret was too strong and too powerful for them to handle. As the people continued their hunt, Margaret continued to haunt the area, terrorizing anyone who crossed her path. Her fiery breath burned everything in its path, and her ghostly form was a constant reminder of the curse that had taken over her. Realizing that she was no match for the angry mob, Margaret fled and sought refuge in a nearby church. As she entered the holy ground, the church began to transform into a pool of blood, and her form became even more terrifying. The people were afraid to enter the church and decided to leave her there, hoping that she would eventually die on her own. But Margaret was too powerful to be contained by the church. She continued to haunt the area, causing destruction and chaos wherever she went. The people were terrified, and they didn't know what to do. Finally, the people of the area decided that they had had enough, and they set fire to the church, hoping to rid themselves of Margaret and her curse once and for all. As the flames rose higher and higher, Margaret's ghostly form began to fade until she was no more. The curse had been lifted, but the memories of the horrors that they had witnessed would haunt the people of the area for years to come. In the aftermath of Margaret's curse, the people of the area learned a valuable lesson about the dangers of dabbling in the supernatural and the unknown. They vowed to never again read or speak words that they didn't understand, for fear of the consequences that they might bring. And though the curse had been lifted, the scars of Margaret's terror would remain with them for the rest of their lives.